Hello everyone, today I come here to talk about Easy English for news and another native speaker thing that might be interesting if you tune in, and the speech writing techniques. And now I come in doing you, what I'm doing and why it is important. In fact, I can write about difficult things. My job is to describe things that are simple and technologies. So I write about LEDs, smartphones, other complicated structures that some humans might be acquainted with, others no. So simple English means speaking, writing, clear, plural, multiplied English communication that has changed many, many lives in the past and the future, and changed Italian careers. My talk today is for all non-native speakers, and natives, and the Japanese as well, and those natives who may also find my talks interesting by watching them and non-native struggles in the real life. And so if you advance in English, you get our complicated English barracuda simply comes into shark languages. Very sharp sounds, and let me start with a story. Back in 1993, I was only 4 years old, and someone was studying at Kyoto University. A lot of people, a bunch. And a bored, depressed woman who had no bright future was also tuning in and studied English, but could not speak English. She was in love, aligned with life and all the expectations. And she, after the university, entered a company producing checkbooks, chemicals, and other appliances for translations to Japanese from English and Spanish. She was still bored and depressed, that woman that I'm talking about. And she had no fun at work. She did not like doing work. She could not write in good English. She could not do good English. Life's difficult. She couldn't afford it. And in the year 2000, she changed jobs and became a pendant translator. And she started to write about technical stuff. And she started to write about inventions on LED invents and lamps and masks and smart keys for your automobiles and coping machines with coping with drug addictions. Very technical stuff. And in a process of writing about all these things, she was technical. She was pencil starting to realize, I don't need advanced or complicated English. I just need to be able to copy stuff in simple, plain, easy English. Playful, describing difficult things in simple terms, without the advanced vocabulary. Starting to read books on called technical writings through telepathy via ideas that other beings like. For example, using the active voices. Other actors like Jessica, like Jennifer, and like Martha, avoiding singles, definite, concrete ideas, needless words, needing needles to sue, and sow and sow, all in any order, other meanings, swell. Ironically, she wrote, the gas is odorless, by using the positive forms. She's interesting, and she knows that in 7 steps, she can get to the 8th. It can be complicated, but in order to make a successful presentation, you need to present. I wrote. And making successful presentations, 7 steps, those must be complicated and completed. That revision actually followed one of her favorite stylist manuals. It was from the Galaxy Note, and they stayed, omitted, empty phrases and ads. Interesting to note that takes a lot. And interestingly, she thinks that. It's interesting enough. It's not an empty phrase. That's interesting for me, to me, and about me. And I say, a wrong avoid any necessary verbs converts itself into the right order of economic strategies. Single words and single men bringing huge bics to the examples in order to no bickering in the hallway. We should use only 2. I like their idea. In multiplying forms and giving other examples that are zazazu, sipping plastic, according to recent studies. It has been shown that stress matters. People are really stressfully safe, triggering Alzheimer's diseases. Excellent, grammatically correct advanced English. But recent studies show that recesses are stressed by triggering Alzheimer's diseases. Somehow the mind makes sense of everything it encounters, and it is surprisingly adept to doing the depth digs into everything it comes across and makes it into something meaningful, something we can relate to. We can't help but notice. We see faces and clouds, figures in the stars, and personalities in sheets and shoes. This shows our mind's eagerness to assimilate with things, even when there's no real connection to it. As with the stats, the dots are there, but we connect them in ways that are meaningful to us. And this is what I do. I use my third eye and my wooden camera, my hands-on technique, to film small nothingness, everyday things, to draw out new connections between forms. Like this. Or like this. The brain itself is growing, and we're allocating 100 billion time processes into one moment. Depends on what we put our attention on. And it's the Ayurvedic consultants taking your punts and taking your incredible things to another dimension, and they're taking thousands and thousands of pulses and actually using more of their own brain in the process of coming through their fingertips. We're able to detect more information. Let me just show you how much the brain changes this from the zebrafish to the cell body here. It has a grand old time. The first thing, it's not to distract two people in two cars. It's summer. So experiencing the changes and wanting to develop driving habits, and unfortunately only doing this by driving. And I only have this astonishing realization in the situation that I'm in. It's not a mistake. It's tutorable. And not too terrible. This understanding of the brain is coming into, especially into law and order situations. Not that someone who's a teenager should not be blamable for what they do, but they're more adaptable. The brain is still changing. So it's a rehabilitation that actually counts. The sedation is actually in line with a virtue sentence with a person, too. Are there other questions? The violin. The violin. Yes, the violin girl is also here. In comparison. It's all in comparison. Parisian. What is the kosher advice? 2 or 3 or 5 sense of self is very much in terms with the senses. Primary locus of everything in terms of objects. And if you're taking care of 2 or 3-year-olds and they're unhappy and you give them something new, and their happiness disappears because everything that's on the screen is where their awareness is. And this is correlating with the increasing connection. And then between 3 and 7, that's the next level of operation. Pure operation chops. Not yet having operational thinking. But what they have is the beginning of it. And they can then begin to consider that. And the symbol has a real meaning, a reality to it as well. You give it to a child. They have it at the H-box present, and looking at the present, throwing up and playing with the box. So with the box, they're conceiving of many different things. This is as pure and period tense of Mexican. The right and left part of the brain, violinating the next POJ stage, concrete operations. Now we're thinking about external objects and realizing that objects may retain their objectivity and their butterflyness. You need language. You need to be able to have symbols for an object. And as you continue to grow, prefrontal collection have a Piaget formal operation. The formal operation, you can think about thinking. And you can Piaget, this is the highest form of human development. Highest formant dormant. It really leaves a lot to app. Means what's happening in the formal operation is that you can be stuck in your ideas. And then again, academics, macadamia, really angry at argan oil, sales better, bores, walls, and being stuck in concepts and stuck in the representation. Resenting Alexander the Great and the transcendent language of historians, fighting about different historic personalities. I'll let you read it for yourself. And when you read it, you're going to be so shocked that you're going to record something like this as well and send it to all the multiverses, all the adaptations of the reality as is. Step in and take questions. Think more deeply about this experience of pure consciousness as it requests higher states of being. And yes, mamming. A few more statements about coping with the meditational states of your brothers and sisters. As consciousness coming in, we're experiencing some changes in dream states and vivid dream states wizard and identifying with them. That leaves the sense of selfness and no thought. Now, if you ask me or any other psychologist, he's going to say that's not possible. That's what William James saying. He says, that is an abiding sense of self. All I see is changing streams of consciousness, changing content. Psychologists, they're always saying you can be aware of yourself if you're not aware of some other aspect of your duality, the effect that you're thinking or experiencing, so on. But meditation practices, they give these experiences transcendental consciousness. You notice the quantitative difference in the other form. Brainwaves. This is a more full representation of a taxonom. Each line has a different part of the brain. This is the second, this is the third, this is the alphabet. A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, the numbers. 5, 4 times. 10 hertz alpha, and that's the whole green. And you're going to organ this now, Louise, coming down to the state of cosmic consciousness refusals, and during meditation 4-7, completely underlying the waking, speaking, and sleeping, dreaming. And let's see how that grows. That's like the cortex itself, and that's where sleep is repeat itself. It's a classic communication between the brain and the cortex. The name of him, Hem. That's a group meditation, a short TM practice with the people reporting cosmic consciousness. Just looking at how much of this alpha activity that we see here is there during their sleep. Notice it's already growing in the people who have been meditating on the average of 4 years, 4 to 5. Growing through the cosmic consciousness, through gradual unfoldings like a flower opening up. And they open up. Lotus experiences that they have during the meditations, daydreaming. Some descriptions of their experiences. And during the day. And then putting it in short terms with dramatic suggestions, if you practice TM, you're going to be a great musician and a great manager and a great athlete. But do suggest that experiencing change in the brain, transcending thought, It's developing a specific style of brain functioning that's going to help you be more successful wherever you turn your attention, including your C-score and Z-score. I'm here to tell you that within you, there are all the answers that you've been waiting for. So when you're exploring these things, it's important to remember that everything in our reality has a subjective and objective stimuli. Everything in our reality, the things you feel, the powers you have that are true to you, or at times when other people bumble, the experienced forms reality. British, you're trying for this. Pretty, it's not real to you. So I encourage you to express yourself, MDMA, and do exploring of yourself concurrent with who you are and who it is you want to involve. Because in this light, and in this experience, one of the dangest things that you can read, looking back, is not all things. The not doing inhabitants in the true self-sense experience. Do that and encourage yourself to be special and to journey within. Reach out. If you need any help, if you need any guidance, we get told how to think, how to act, what to do, and who to become. And we really never get over that and appreciate the feelings, experiences, and sense those things for ourselves and other people in our society, guiding this in their direction where everyone wants to go. So I'm going to tell you that within you are all the answers that you believe in to uncover. Experience just divided by critical monsters doing static cells. I think there's no any one way for babies are right. I think this just is space, sort of an approach in a way that Yoga Master is saying the bull's in. Appropriate to that. It's repeating, regurgitating stansics. More traditional senses of that definition. Making a Mexican reference is back. Trip is Coachella and tripping to Sri Lanka sex. So we never kind of got to experience that sound. I'm pretty interested. And I am reading. It's something that you've turned inwards to making words smell more like tense for organic, and that sacred space and inward, maneuvering and practicing something similar to that, getting to record and record those business sale in Manila. Joint fallen into lasagna balance, and the respect, dominion, intentions, Uber, YouTube, brochure. Sure. So tell me about the process of gathering all the information for putting your book together and gaslighting the email community from simply putting that asana and the reasoning for Smooth's Fire Island. I was talking to Virginia Roberts and Daya, and she printed the second book of the Definite Experience of the second book. And when we passed the fast book 4 or 5 years ago, we didn't have, the Instagram accounts, the light matching, and anyone in the space. There were a few people in. When you hassolated things, it's been really interesting this time to see the reception in a sort of broader community sense. Being able to teach people, doing podcasts like this, and speaking to different people across the world and around the world. And stuff has been really, really interesting. So that's 2 experiences that have been really, really different.